right, let's see who. Did we invite people in the lobby, or do we still? I can't see anyone in the lobby now.
I can see, I can accept them.
Ah, yeah, sorry, yes,
Yeah.
we can. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. We will start in another 2 minutes. Just want to give everyone a little bit of time to transition from their previous meetings. Ruchita, I'll take control of from you. I think for the next webinar, we should have some background music.
Yes, we should. Let's invite Lou to it. He's really good with the background music.
Yes, I remember that. All right, it's 3:02. We have a lot of content that we want to go through, so let's kick start. First of all, thank you very much for joining and spending or agreeing to spend your next 45 to 50 minutes with us. And today's topic is all about Sentinel, how to optimize what your existing investment with Sentinel. For people who are joining with a new sort of fresh eyes, exploring a SIEM platform, we will go into some of the use cases and scenarios where how Sentinel might fit your organization quite well. So with that, let's go through the introductions in the next slide. So I want to quickly introduce, there are a couple of people who are joining our talk today. Yanish, who is a security architect at Paramount. Then Ruchita, she's a solutions engineer at Microsoft. I myself, my name is Udeesh. I'm the head of growth at Paramount across APJ. And very nice meeting all of you virtually. And we will go through the agenda next. We have a bit of a comprehensive agenda, and I'm pretty sure you have seen the same agenda in the invites as well. We will go through a couple of areas from Sentinel standpoint to understand where would Sentinel fit in a modern SOC and how priority logs can be aligned with the guidelines of ethics, which got recently released about actually last year, and the role that Sentinel can play in that. And then obviously one of the biggest talking points that we recently had with customers is around how you can optimize Sentinel from a cost point of view and from a log ingestion point of view. What does that look like? And obviously Sentinel, for people who've used Sentinel, you would know that Sentinel has a stack of already made detection logic that are built in to Sentinel. and how can you leverage some of that? And we will touch on the UEBA and the other detection analytics that comes with Sentinel. After that, we'll go into the SOC automation and some of the SOAR use cases and some customer stories we will share as well. And then we will go into some demonstration and some of the use cases that we captured based on our experience and the implementations that we have deployed across many customers. So that's the agenda. I want to quickly give a overview to all of you about Paramount. Obviously, you know what Microsoft brings to the table from Sentinel standpoint, but from a partner point of view, I want to highlight the Paramount engagement and the partnership that we have across Microsoft here at ANZ. The Microsoft core practices, what you see here in Paramount. Paramount is a 30-year-old company which initially started off with IT security, network security, but then transitioned over to the cybersecurity. And one of the core practices that we have is actually Microsoft. And within that practice, we have multiple pillars of offerings across the Microsoft security stack, starting off from identity, and then XDR platform, and then data security. And we also do managed services. And we have 3 SOCs. We have a dedicated SOC for Sentinel. I will talk about some of the offerings later on, how we can help and engage with you down the track. And we also do manage services for other solutions as well. One thing I wanted to highlight, we had that logo in the opening slide. We are a NISA partner. We are a verified DEX partner as well, which is one of the highest accreditations that you can get from Microsoft, which calls out the depth and the breadth that we bring as a partner to help you and support you. With that, I'll hand over to Ruchita. I'm going to stop my control from my side. Over to you, Ruchita.
Thank you, Udeesh. Yeah, let me just quickly bring this up. All right, so let's dive into the SIEM and Sentinel conversation specifically. And let me start by grounding this conversation in reality. Now, here on the screen, there is nothing that's new to us. So we are operating in an unprecedented threat landscape, which is defined by 3 key things: the speed, scale, and sophistication of the attacks that are going on. So this is no longer a question about what if an attack happens. The question is really about, if an attack happens, it's about how quickly we can detect and respond. And that's exactly where SOC becomes mission critical. And if we zoom into the SOC specifically, this is where the key, the pressure points are. And we can consistently see that these are the 4 key challenges, hearing and talking to a lot of customers. Unmanageable data growth. So we are seeing 250% year-on-year increase in the log volume. There is fragmentation. So the analysts are juggling dozens of disconnected tools. Outpaced defenders. So attackers are moving faster, and they are now equipped with the agentic AI as well. So does defender needs to be equipped with the latest and the greatest technology. And obviously the incomplete analytics. So most of the SOC teams are lacking the advanced insight. So the data is sitting there, but there is not much visibility or a way to get visibility into into turn that data into an actionable insight. So the problem isn't just the threats, it's how the SOC is equipped to handle them. And traditional SIEM weren't designed for this level of scale, complexity, or speed. So this is where Microsoft Sentinel comes in. Now, Sentinel isn't just a SIEM solution anymore. It's an AI-ready security platform. And I will call out the AI-ready features that I'm, using this in this tagline. So this platform, it basically, powers what we call agentic defense. It is built on three key differentiators that you are seeing on the screen: the unified data and context. So bringing signals across your entire environment into one single place. So it gives you a much better visibility. The cloud scale analytics and orchestration. So it is designed to handle the modern data and volumes, and it is able to scale according to your data volumes automatically. So there is no infrastructure maintenance underlying that. There is extensibility, and it's an open platform that integrates across Microsoft solution and also third-party ecosystem. So in short, it gives the SOC the scale, visibility, and flexibility. Now, one of the Sentinel's biggest strength is that it's not operating in isolation. So the fundamental SIEM layer is basically sitting across the Microsoft security platform, right? So it natively integrates with Defender solutions, Entra, Intune, Purview solutions as well. And obviously it goes beyond Microsoft. So if you're not using Microsoft security solution, that's fine. We can integrate with the third-party solutions that are sitting in your environment. On top of that, we have Security Copilot, which brings the AI-driven investigation experience and the data lake. The data lake plus the advanced analytics now allows us for the data optimization, and we will see that in next few slides. So instead of stitching tools together, Sentinel delivers end-to-end visibility and coordination. So just want to dive slightly deeper into the Sentinel platform architecture itself. So under the hood, this is the architecture what enables Sentinel to scale. So the key things to call out here, and I'm starting bottom up. So the data lake, that's the foundational layer, as that's where the data sits. So data lake based architecture separates the storage from compute, which allows us for cost efficiency. Then we also have advanced analytics engine, so including the Custo query language and the Spark notebooks that are available within the data lake itself. So that helps us with deep investigation. We have also introduced the data federation capability. So we can tap into the data that is sitting outside Sentinel using this data federation. So we can, if there is a need for DFIR, or if we want to search beyond the security data that is sitting in Sentinel, we can tap into Microsoft Fabric, ADLS, or Databricks Azure services using the data federation. So that basically, doesn't duplicate the data. On top of that, we have got the modern data models. To call out specifically, the Sentinel graph is quite important feature. The Sentinel graph basically correlates the data to help defenders visualize the complex relationship between multiple different entities. So, think about when you're investigating, you also want to visualize what is the blast radius, and that's where the graph comes into play. If you're hunting, you would like to, visualize how one specific identity or a specific device is connected to multiple different entities within your environment. So that's where the Sentinel graph comes into play. Then on top of that, we have got the Sentinel MCP server, which acts as a bridge between the AI assistants and security data lake. This basically allows us, the security analysts, to query logs, incidents, and analytics using the natural language prompts. So instead of manually writing scripts or queries, or looking for queries on searching in on the internet, you can ask the AI itself in the natural language to generate the queries and scripts for you. And obviously, on top, the full SOC capabilities. And these are the key things, right? So going from detection, hunting, investigation, SOAR capabilities, there are playbook capabilities, UEBA, threat intelligence services, all of these are fully available as part of the Sentinel solution. In fact, a lot of these things are out of box. So you don't even have to go and configure or write these things from scratch. There are out-of-box templates are available to get you started on various of these SOC capabilities. So this is fundamentally fundamentally different from legacy SIEM. It's built for next generation and data intensive security operations. So going a little bit on where Microsoft is taking this even further. So, a little bit diving into the future. We truly believe that moving beyond detection and response is the key. So, moving to predicting the attack paths, automatic containment of the threats, empowering the analyst with more context, and continuous learning and optimizing with a closed loop feedback system is the key, and that's the future. So this is what we mean by the agentic defense that I called out earlier. And the goal isn't just to help analysts respond faster, but it's also to reduce the burden on the SOC entirely and shift the focus towards the high value work. And when I call out this, the future things, the Forrester and Gartner reports that I have on the next slide anchor this message. As Sentinel is named as the leader on the recent reports. So this is a report coming from Forrester, where Sentinel is sitting in the leader quadrant. And similarly, if we look at Gartner Magic Quadrant, again, Microsoft Sentinel is been named as the leader in terms of what we offer and where the innovation is going. So what's the roadmap look like? And this is where Microsoft continues to evolve Sentinel beyond the traditional SIEM boundaries. So, let's dive slightly into what it means in the practice. So calling out the first use case, which is about the priority logs coming from ACSC guidance, right? When I talk to customers, mostly the questions are around how can I ingest these logs and how we can utilize the out-of-box capabilities better. So first, let's understand what's the guidance is about. So ACSC has provided guidance for practitioners on priority logs for the SIEM ingestion. And these logs are critical for detecting, analyzing, responding to cybersecurity threats effectively. Very important, the guidance is emphasizing that organizations should tailor the log collection to their environment and risk profile, and then gradually building up the data sources rather than ingesting all logs at once. So as you notice which logs are critical for you, ingest them, build the use cases, build the detections, and the SOAR capabilities for that, have the automation readily available, and then move to ingesting more data. And Sentinel completely aligns with that, helping the customers to prioritize the right telemetry. So the log categories we are showcasing here on the 8 different cards or tiles on the screen. But if we broadly look at these categories, they are basically, they are across the 4 key domains. The identity and authentication. So looking at the domain controller, the logs coming from Entra, Active Directory, so on. Endpoint and device activity. So the logs coming from EDR or custom log collection. Then the other one is network and the perimeter. So the logs from VPN, your network devices, firewalls, web proxy, so on. And obviously looking at the application logs, where are critical data or sensitive data sits. And this data could be in cloud, SaaS applications, custom critical systems sitting on-prem. So these are the key things. And here, we are calling out what are the event IDs or what are the sources that ACSC asking for. But most importantly, as we start ingesting these log sources, it is important to develop the detection use cases or analytics on top of that, because data ingestion doesn't translate into a good telemetry or visualization. And that's where the understanding the use case and building the visualization is quite important. And Sentinel provides a lot of these things out of the box. So you look at the detection templates, be the UEBA. Now, user entity behavior analytics goes across multiple domains. And again, templates and the feature set is readily available in Sentinel. So you can build that immediately. You don't have to start from the scratch. You can look at the templates itself. So, the next question that we usually get is that once we start collecting these logs, what is the strategy for, storing these logs for long term? And how we can optimize that. So that's where Yanish will take you through for the section in terms of what should be the strategy around log optimization. So over to you, Yanish.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruchita, for setting up the proper context and giving us insights around what ACSC requires. Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. So, we've got the context, we've got the insights and everything. Now we need to have an understanding that, okay, I know the problem, I know the requirement, how do I solve it? So that's where, as it was highlighted earlier, the data lake is something which is becoming very popular and critical as well. Why? Because it, of course, gives us better coverage. At times, we have a problem going up to the management that, okay, I would want to ingest everything, but I cannot do it because there are, of course, financial constraints or at times technical constraints as well. You'd want to have much more bigger infrastructure to be able to accommodate that. Cost efficiency, as I mentioned, you'd want something to be there in a mechanism or in an option where you are able to access it or tap into it whenever you want, but you'd want that it stays in the manner where it charges you the least. And then, of course, that data should be ready for AI insights or AI-based detections. I should not have to clean up that data, make that data ready for my AI-based detections is something that I would not want for my information. So that's something which Microsoft takes care with Data Lake. So with Data Lake, we can bring in, sets of data, have it retained for up to 12 years. And then the benefit that it provides us is it's still available for detection. It is still available for us to be able to create visualization. That is still available for me to be able to hunt for threats. So getting the advantages of analytic tools, but in a, let's say, in a fraction of that cost is something I want to take it as a customer. So it gives us visibility that, okay, you have everything in one single platform, in one single area. There's no two specific platforms that you need to go to access that data. It optimizes your cost, one of the biggest drivers. It helps us get historical analysis. So I have data of 12 years in case your compliance requires you to do so. But even without that, I'm still having data for my DFIR activities, for my incident response activities, or if I would want to do a breach hunt. Because, as you might already know, that at times breaches could be happening over a period of a couple of years, not within maybe a couple of days. So all that context is something that I would be able to get into it with the option to be able to enforce and enhance the data with ML and AI, the capabilities that Ruchita highlighted in the previous slides. And then, of course, it comes in with scalability. So today you would want to bring in, let's say, 100 GBs of data. Tomorrow you would want to bring in, let's say, 5 TBs of data. Normally not required, but it gives you the flexibility that you have that option to control how much and whatever you'd want to bring into data lake. So if we cover, what kind of logs would you want to separate between these tiers? So anything which requires critical or real-time monitoring with supporting analytics should be there in analytics tier. Things such as your EDR antivirus logs, because that's where the major action happens. Things such as your authentication logs, you'd want to monitor your continuous field authentications or continuous authentications which are not from approved locations. Audit trails from cloud systems in terms of what and who did those changes. DLP logs for any levels of data prevention or data loss prevention activities that might be happening. Any threat intel that might be coming in which needs to be mapped to my existing data, and any critical systems that I might have. So for example, SAP is one such critical application where I would want to continuously monitor it in the best or the quickest possible way. So you have it in analytics. logs which need to be moved into data lake. So where you would want to still have that context, but you are okay with, or you are requiring to have that stored in an inexpensive format altogether. So for example, you have your NetFlow logs, you have your low critical firewall logs, or you have your low critical proxy logs, which are required for investigation on some purposes, but not be the core of my detection mechanism. So that's something that you can keep in detailing. Now, a comparison of what types of logs there could be, the log volume, what it brings in, value for threat detection and value threat hunting. So this is where it becomes really helpful that, okay, you understand that, okay, these are my logs which are very, very critical and also are really helpful for me to be able to build detections, because that's what we would want from a SIM solution, right? Bringing in data does not add any value to us. I would want to be able to build detections. So the value that it adds for threat detection, and of course, uh, does it offer me value in terms of threat hunting? So for example, something like Windows security events. A lot of my Windows servers would be, let's say, my servers running my websites or web applications. I would want it's low volume, absolutely not. It brings in a lot of logs. It does add value for threat detection, and it of course adds value for threat hunting as well. Similarly, for something like my firewall traffic logs. Yes, it brings in a lot of content, brings in a lot of data, depending on what you're bringing in. Value for threat detection, yes, there is some, but it's not really on the levels of, let's say, my authentication logs or for my Windows security logs. So that understanding is something that we can, get from the specific slide to differentiate the different types of connectors, different types of data sources, so that you would be able to architecture your data lake strategy in the best possible way. Okay, and then a similar comparison that the ingestion cost could be standard and the data lake is minimal. Uh, what it is best suited for, the query capabilities. Both have options for query capabilities. You can run scheduled jobs, you can use notebooks across both these platforms. Uh, Query performance, of course, for analytics, we would need it to be high speed, whereas for data lake, I would need it to be optimized. And the other set of comparative features, such as the real-time analytic features, the restore and export data. So, of course, I would want to be able to restore data back to analytic tiers, but not really to data lake, because that's not where I would do my active hunting. And then, of course, the retention periods. For with analytics, you are able to only retain it for about a 2-year window, whereas with data lake, you can extend it up to 12 years as well. Now, we understood, okay, we are able to bring in the data, Sentinel provides its set of capabilities, but what are the set of additional features that we can utilize right away to be able to go ahead and get benefits around the UBA and analytics altogether? So as a platform, of course, UBA has been there and it has, of course, improved continuously in the last few years. We have a very, very heavy and quality community along with vendors that provides us with a lot of content. That content includes integrations with third-party sources, SOAR options, use case creations, or even dashboards that we would want to have. It comes in with, of course, SOAR and case management capabilities, one of the few SIMs across in the market to give you that. The built-in threat intelligence, even if you don't have a threat intel package or a vendor that is providing you that, you would be able to utilize Microsoft threat intelligence that comes in with Sentinel and the supporting Defender solutions. You can integrate it for free. You have tons and tons of dashboards available for you to be able to get visualizations right away without investing time and money in building one for you. And of course, uh, the hot topic of the today's world, irrespective of what it is, AI agents. So Microsoft has done, along with its partners like us, has done a really great job in terms of bringing a lot of agents into place. So, for example, agents like threat detection agents, for example, such as phishing triage agents, for example, such as DLP a review agent, and so on and so forth. The list is quite endless and it is keeping on increasing as we speak. So, a lot of autonomous AI agents which can simplify the work for you and then, of course, help you uh, investigate in the best possible and optimized manner. As I mentioned, you have an option to have threat intel directly coming in from Microsoft, and Microsoft tracks it across 77 different countries, 300 different threat actors. This number was about 2025 when Sentinel was at the initial stages, and then it has expanded to about 300 actors. Keeping the current circumstances of the world in mind, we would want to make sure that my organization is being taken care of from all possible known actors, of course, and of course from other non-known actors as well. There are more than 15,000 partners working across the globe with about 84 trillion signals daily analyzed by Microsoft, giving it the edge that is needed to be able to build the UEBA mechanism more suited for security environments. You can have that threat intelligence map to any log source. If you're bringing in network data to common event format or syslog format and storing it in Sentinel or to your Office activity logs, Azure activity logs, DNS logs, Windows servers logs, or network sessions logs, whatever you want to bring it, you can map that threat intelligence data in your data that you have ingested to be able to build appropriate detection. So, for example, I'd want to detect that a file hash which was known to be used in an attack has been found in my environment. I would want to get detections around it. So that's something you can absolutely do with a much more precise and much more content coming in from Microsoft in this part. All the detections that you built or you enable out of the box are by default mapped to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, which is really, really helpful to understand where and what stage of the attack that we are in, so that we can take appropriate measures when we are taking SOC actions. Do you want to disable it? Do you want to monitor it? Do you want to either take actions from an automated manner? All of this is something that you would be able to do. So all the analytical rules that you create, you would be able to map it accordingly. By default, Microsoft comes in with an option to build your own UEBA as well, but the core UEBA relies on a lot of data sources, such as your identity logs from AD, from your Entra, and in case you have other supporting solutions as well, it relies on that and it helps you build a mechanism. I'll show you a couple of screenshots in the demo stages on how it looks like, on what value it does at, so that it makes sense for you to start using it if you are not using it already. One of the major benefits that we are getting with this specific UEBA benefits is you would be able to get the confidence scores, and also you would be able to identify the relation in terms of known attacks that has happened across based on the patterns of your organization. So for example, Yanish as a user does not really create users, does not really do a lot of Azure operations because my job is to work on identity security, which is hosted in Entra. Why is he suddenly creating a lot of users? Why is he suddenly creating a lot of virtual machines and giving access to users? So those levels of abnormal behaviors also in comparison with its peers. That okay, I and let's Udeesh are in the same team and we do have the same job roles, the same team, but we are doing a very, very different set of activities which could be leading to anomalous breach or anomalous activity in my environment is something that I would want to detect, which Microsoft helps me do it with its continuous user data coming in from its UEBA sources. And then, of course, you'd be able to give priorities as well. So, for example, the servers, the users, the mailboxes, or IPs that are critical for you, you can have that mapping done to be able to get more tuned alerts as part of UEBA based detections. Okay. So as I mentioned that with analytics, once you have the content, once you have the information, you'd be able to of course, investigate in the best possible way. Or if you want to do a hunting activity, you can either use very, very basic KQL jobs, which you don't even need to write KQL nowadays for. You can just go to Security Copilot or use the inbuilt Security Copilot options that we have to be able to create queries out of natural language. You can use Spark notebooks, you can use Jupyter notebooks, and different machine learning models, as I mentioned, of your own to be able to work with Sentinel detections and also threat hunting activities. And with the introduction of MCP servers and Security Copilot, we do get an option to be able to enable us to be able to hunt and identify threats in the much, much faster and an optimized manner because attackers are using it. So why should we not? So we have the platform ready, we have the options ready, we are giving you the tools ready with Microsoft Sentinel to be able to hunt for or look for threats in the best possible way. So this is something which is I wanted to highlight on a very critical basis is non-human threats are becoming a very, very, very critical or a very problematic option right now. There are tons of AI agents coming into play. There are tons of service accounts coming into play. There's some tons of users just created there for API tokens, which are not being taken care of, which at times is becoming problematic nowadays. With the introduction of agents to the platform or to our environments, we need to make sure that we are treating it as another human entity, but of course, with much more quicker powers or better powers in terms of processing or doing things. So NHI is a very, very big risk, and we would need to make sure we are taking care of them because in most scenarios they do not have MFA enabled because I do not want my service account or I do not want my agent account to be stuck because of MFA. So that's again a productivity versus security discussion, but those are the current standards that people do not have MFA options for it, and then it's easier for attackers to compromise it whenever they're trying to have a lateral movement attack in your organization. And then in if you just rely on traditional rules, there's no possible way that you can detect those specific options. It will look like a normal sign-in or a normal account adoption to you, and there would be no such changes appearing in. So with Sentinel, we are utilizing our UEBA capabilities as highlighted earlier, and we would be able to cover scenarios which give us risk insights from Entra ID, from our service principles, any PIM or PAM assignments that you're doing with Microsoft and with not Microsoft products, the SaaS identities that you might have again with Microsoft and with your third-party products, and any OAuth application that are being granted very, very extensive privilege permissions. So we would be able to detect and have anomaly detected across my NHI users or NHI identities as well. Okay, quickly moving to the SOC automation and SOAR use cases altogether. So again, as a platform, it is ready for us to give all the tools required to have an optimized automation setup or a security operation setup in place. It's one of the very few products in the market which natively gives you that. So we've discussed about the platform and the option it gives. So right now, with the integration of GenAI to our solutions, with the security co-pilots, seamless integration coming in with the Defender portal, the Purview, and the identity portals, you'll be able to look for either a very basic summary of your incident. You can absolutely do that. So before Copilot to be able to get the gist of the incident, you'll have to spend maybe 30, 40, or even a couple hours, depending on the severity, depending on the complexity of the incident. You can have it in a couple minutes. It's as simple as just asking, summarize Sentinel incident number in bullets for me, in context for me, in any language that Microsoft supports. It supports a plenty of languages as well. And then this empowers the SOC teams to work in a much more optimized manner. And then it empowers the junior SOC analyst to be able to make fully informed decisions without having a chain of approvals in play, coming to L2, L3, and then the SOC leads before they go ahead and do any remote operations. Similarly, you would be able to get options to respond. So, okay, you have done the investigation. Now I would want to be able to respond to that specific incident. Earlier, it was very fragmented. There was no standard pattern unless and until you have a document or a specific PPT or a PDF that the enterprise provides you to be able to follow a specific structure. There were no specific standards on how responses were being taken care of. With Microsoft Sentinel, you can have automation based responses added, to customize it as per your needs, or you can go ahead and get the insights needed on what response actions are to be done with Copilot altogether. So you'll see, okay, I've identified there was a fraud attack that has happened in my environment. Attack disruption has automatically kicked in. What action needs to be done? Attack disruption has already taken care for disabling the account name. I would want to delete any emails that might have initiated this attack with a phishing attack. Disable the account in AD, it's already been done. Reset the password for this specific set of users. You would be able to force password reset for all of this. And this comes in with native integrations to the Microsoft platform in case you are relying very much on that as well. Okay. Similarly, you would want to hunt for threats, as something that we have mentioned. You would be able to hunt for threats in a much more simplified manner. Earlier, you had to write queries, which you would need the KQL for. Now, with the introduction of GenAI, we are able to solve the problems of the knowledge lack that was highlighted in the earlier stages of the discussion, that there are a lot of analysts who do not have the right information, right skill set to be able to deliver it. So we can help them and our organization with the help of GenAI for hunting activities, for querying activities. And in case you would want to have a scalable and much more enhanced threat hunting activity built across in one single platform, you can absolutely do it with something like Jupyter Notebooks with the Visual Studio Code extension if you'd like, or if you'd want to have dashboards built in while doing a hunting activity, if you'd want to have queries already integrated in the platform to run automatically based on the integrated sources to give me insights on what actions are to be taken next. All of that is something that you would be able to do in one single session with Jupyter Notebooks. And then this is something that I'd like to show you in one of my demo screenshots as well, that you have a lot of benefits. So by default, when you set up your SOC environment, whatever are the gaps, not just from directions perspective, but from a platform perspective, is something that you would be able to go ahead and get recommendations around. You have a native case management capability available for you to be able to take actions as part of normal incident management, moving into different stages, assigning to different individuals, and so on and so forth. So this is a context that we already are aware of, that rule-based approach, that, okay, there's an alert, there's a specific classification engine, there's a for, if loop that we set up, and then it takes action based on those specific contexts, is no longer relevant or valid or apt to current attack vectors. So that's where I would need to have Gen AI integrated into my automation platform to be able to identify it, to be able to enhance it, and to be able to help me in the decision-making process. So for that, we get a lot of Copilot skills in terms of summarization of incidents, guided responses, script analysis, the natural language to KQL, incident report management, threat intel investigation, either from Microsoft or from third-party sources, file analysis, and of course, the summary of identity and device with the different agents that are coming into play. A quick look at some of the agents. So there are agents like web hunting agents, there are threat detection agents, there's agents for DLP review, for your patch management, and tons of plenty such agents that are very seamlessly integrating with Microsoft as part of its platform to be able to give you those specific set of capabilities. Now, there are few customer stories that I wanted to highlight, which have been really valuable in the recent past for us, for Paramount. Is, of course, when you deploy a SIM solution, you'll have your core set of dependencies or a core set of detections or use cases being met. So there were two specific stories that we were able to add a lot of value to the customers. Is one where customer had 50 different products. It was a huge organization which didn't know how to deal with anomaly based detections or deal with entity behaviors altogether to be able to get apt detections and to be able to get the right detections. So we were able to build 30 plus custom use cases from them. Not, there are tons of use cases already built into the platform. On top of it, we were able to build 30 plus use cases for them. We were able to have, the UEBA model updated for them, which was not covered as part of out of box. We also were able to use third-party sources such as proxy and WAF for enhancing and monitoring their web and SaaS activity. They had a lot of compliance checks that they had to align to in terms of audit. We were able to help them with that. And with the adaptive protection already integrated with things such as adaptive access in DLP and intra-conditional access policies, we were able to enforce real-time enforcement or remediation activities. So, for example, if a risky user was identified and they are attempting a normal sharing activity of data, they should be treated as high severity or high risk users and be taken actions accordingly. So with this, we were able to reduce the mean time in detection for them for about 60%. The alert to investigation ratio, where they had to investigate a lot of incidents without a lot of value, we were able to improve it by 40%. We were able to help them meet regulatory audit coverage by 100% by mapping and having the correct visualizations in place. And of course, the analysis time that was needed earlier, we were able to bring it down by 35%. The second story was which a lot of customers might find relevant in the current scenario is that we had SAP as our core platform, and then I was not able to get a lot of value in terms of detections as part of it. So we were able to bring in SAP data, map it with the other set of data across web, identity, and my servers that I'm having. And we were able to build custom detections for it, fraud detection use cases that were happening, and we were able to very seamlessly integrate it to the platform. We were able to have identity-based detections done across SAP activity with the help of the Entra ID and MD signals, and then we were able to have or help them with security copilot based visualizations, which were quick to run and provision to get all the insights. So with this, they had about 70% in uh, the detection coverage, the 50% reduction in about the SOD violations that they were having. There were there were a lot of kernel modifications which were not identified, which we were able to cover. And then the time business or the business risk that they were having with SAP, it was the first time that they incorporated into the platform as an intelligence to be able to get insights around. Quickly moving to some of the areas that I would want to show around demos for you is, so with the time constraint in mind, I'm not able to show you live demos, but these are some of the screenshots from my platform altogether. So as soon as you go to your Microsoft platform, you would be able to get your SOC optimization status, how many recommendations that you are in progress with, how many have you completed. So it basically helps you improve your SOC as a platform for you. the number of anomalies that were detected in the last 14-day period altogether, the data sources that are required, are they all integrated? The anomalous account manipulation activities, authentication, or Azure operation activities, you'll be able to see it all. The different sets of automation rules, and are they healthy or not? The number of incidents that they have closed, the actions that they perform, is something that you'd be able to get a full-fledged visibility around. This is from an optimization perspective. What are the threat detection based coverage that you should adopt to in terms of SOC optimization? You'll be able to get it. What are the cost optimization activities that is something which is very, very critical for accounts as well. So you'd want to configure data ingestion in a appropriate format. You'd want to configure, DCR rules to make sure you are having limited logs coming in which are not relevant for you. The coverage improvement. There are some specific areas we're not getting directions around. So this is something that you should be able to get an improvement around. There are tons of built-in playbooks that are already available for you, and it gives you a full-fledged capability to create one of your own. There are tons of out-of-the-box UEBA use cases available as well around, Okta, AWS, SAP, and different other solutions available to you, and it relies on the data sources that we integrate for you to be able to get good and correct directions altogether. Now, a couple of minutes that I'd want to highlight is we've met with multiple customers. They have Sentinel deployed. Good, very good. But is it performing as expected for them? The answer is, in most cases, is no. Why is it so? There are tons of connectors which are showing as connected, but they are, not really correctly mapped to the detection logic. So they are bringing in data, the logic or the rule is already running, but there are no detections happening. A lot of times, when we are bringing in data which requires compliance from sources such as ACSC, we're not able to comply with that because the data is scattered and we don't have the visibility of it. We are retaining it for a very, very shorter period of time. So we are not able to do a very extensive breach detection. We are keeping the detection rules out of the box. We're not changing it. We're not modifying it. We're not adopting it to the requirements of my data. So this is where us as a partner can come in and help you have that mapping done, have that posture workbook, Udeesh will be talking in a minute or so, and then have you architect in the right possible way for your Sentinel platform and have a detection health check done as well. We'd be able to help you get an ACSA workbook like this, where we tell you that, okay, what are the sets of data information that is needed? Are you monitoring that across all the options that Ruchita discussed earlier? And we would be able to, of course, give you the coverage overview, coverage heat map, the volume and cost that you are incorporating by integrating those data sources is something that we would be able to help you get a good visibility around. Now, for the next thing, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Udeesh. Udeesh, over to you.
Thank you, Yanish. I think Yanish covered an extensive amount of topics, same with Ruchita earlier. We got a couple of more minutes. So in the final couple of minutes, I got a few slides that I want to sort of cover off in terms of some of the capabilities that we can bring to you as a partner. So this is essentially a t-shirt size model that we have created from an adoption point of view. It's going beyond Sentinel, both from unified XDR and SIEM standpoint. But I know every organization is different and the priorities are different, the sizes are different. So that's why we created that t-shirt size modeling. And we created this high level scope to facilitate adoption of Sentinel across the board. Additionally, we can work with you to identify the correct scope. As I mentioned, every organization has different priorities and sort of outlook. So we can work with you to identify what's your. We can work with you to go through the correct scope. On top of that, what I want to highlight was what I called out in one of the opening slides: the managed services that we provide. we can work with you if that is a priority for you as an organization to look at whether it's 24/7 or whether it's after-hour managed services. As I mentioned, we have a dedicated Sentinel SOC that we can provide that eyes on glass service for you, so then you can stay you can prioritize your resources on other severity things, and we can take off some of the management of your SIEM platform. Let me. Okay, so as the next step, what I like to call out is what we can offer for all of you. I know you all spend almost 55 minutes with us in the call. We are more than happy to do a complimentary health check on your current existing Sentinel deployment. That will give you essentially an overview of your current posture and what connectors that you are currently using, and any sort of drifts that's, I think Yanish sort of touched on some of these things. And then we can also look at how you can optimize some of the areas, and we can provide you those recommendations. Then followed by that is, again, Yanish touched on this, the workbook that we can create for SX and the priority log sources. Of course, we can provide you some guidance and advisory around how you can optimize Sentinel and create new detection logic within Sentinel and follow through that SOC model that you have invested already. So please be in touch with us if there is a requirement around this. My name is Udeesh. I'm based in Melbourne. Again, I'm covering the whole of ANZ, and my colleague Niti, she's based out of Sydney, and more than happy to connect with you. And if there's any questions, feel free to reach out. My details are there. Of course, you have Ruchita from Microsoft team. She's also based out of Melbourne, and we all obviously work as one team. And if there's anything, please feel free to reach out. That's all from my side. And I did not see any questions coming through. One thing I forgot to mention, if there are any questions, please put that in the chat, but I did not see any questions coming through. But if there are any last-minute questions, feel free to ask away. Otherwise, always welcome for you to send your questions via email, or connect us via email, or through LinkedIn, or through the phone numbers that are listed here. With that, Ruchita and Yanish, thank you very much for your participation and connecting with us, with our customers today. And if there aren't any questions, then we can close the call off. And again, we are planning to do another similar webinar in the coming months. We will definitely keep you posted. And thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Udeesh. Thanks, Yanish.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.